Now to the Middle East, yes, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the International Criminal Court's prosecutor for seeking arrest warrants for him alongside Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes in the Gaza conflict. Mr. Netanyahu argued that he rejected with disgust that democratic Israel had been compared with what he called mass murderers. We have more details in this report.
The International Criminal Court seeking of arrest warrants for leaders of both Hamas and Israel has continued to generate reactions from different countries. Germany, while arguing that though it has always supported the ICC, the leaders of Hamas are responsible for a barbaric massacre in which men, women and children were murdered, raped and abducted in Israel on October 7 in the most brutal manner. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has also condemned the International Criminal Court's prosecutor for seeking arrest warrants for him alongside Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes in the Gaza conflict. Mr. Netanyahu, in a public statement in Hebrew, argued that the comparison was a distortion of reality. Similarly, U.S. President Joe Biden has offered a full rejection of the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant request for Israeli leaders amid the ongoing war against Hamas.
Let me be clear. We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. And it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear. Contrary to allegations against Israel made by the International Court of Justice, what's happening is not genocide. We reject that. We will always stand with Israel and the threats against its security. Compounding the pain and the vicious surge of anti-Semitism around the world, here in America as well, in our streets, our social media, and college campuses. It's amazing it's happening. It's absolutely despicable. It's wrong and it must stop. It must stop. In America, we respect and protect fundamental rights of free speech to protest peacefully.
Meanwhile, France has broken away from its Western allies and expressed support for the International Criminal Court after the court announced its decision to seek arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister, its defense minister, and Hamas leaders. Paris also said it has been warning for many months the need for strict compliance with international humanitarian laws, and in particular of the unacceptable level of civilian casualties in the Gaza Strip and the lack of humanitarian access. France's move marks a major split between its position and that of its Western allies, including the UK, Italy, and the United States. France has been one of the few Western countries willing to take a tougher stance on Israel, including criticizing the U.S. decision to veto ceasefire resolutions in the UN Security Council early on and calling for an immediate ceasefire. In another development, figures from the United Nations have revealed that more than 900,000 people, approximately 40% of Gaza's population, have been displaced in the past 2 weeks, as Israeli bombardment continues across much of the enclave. United Nations spokesperson stated that the Israeli bombardment has been accompanied by ground incursions and intense fighting, particularly in eastern Rafah and Jabalia. He said that of the displaced Palestinians, 812,000 are from Rafah and over 100,000 are from northern Gaza.
I have joining me on the news a global affairs analyst, Kunle Falowo. He joins us to discuss the arrest warrant requested by the ICC and reactions from such announcement. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Falowo. Well, the International Criminal Court seeking an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister, some other members of his cabinet, and then Hamas leaders. Did you really see that coming?
Thanks for having me. So that was a very unexpected move from the International Criminal Court. I mean, they've been listening to everything that's been going on, and they're very attentive to world politics and the situation going on in Gaza. It's something that it has everybody just amazed and just disgusted by the unnecessary civilian casualties going on in Gaza, particularly now that going to now that it's seeming to look like an unending war and unending bloodshed. Unfortunately, this is happening, and it just gives another twist and plots to the lingering crisis in that region.
Leaders of Hamas are united in resisting the attempt at arresting the leaders. What does that imply? Is that unity in diversity, or what exactly?
So, as it is, to be clear, the International Criminal Court's the chief prosecutor, what he is initiating is just for now it's an application that will either be granted or denied by the judges at the International Criminal Court. So, be that as it may, it's still in the public discourse, and also the judges will have to decide if that will go and if they will eventually order or issue that arrest warrant for both leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Hamas leaders. Also, it's unfortunate that this is happening, particularly the way that, especially Western allies are, wanting to denounce what's been going on and not terming or categorizing what's been happening in Gaza as a genocide. But as it is, it's only 2 million people, and almost half of the population are dying, and they're hungry, and they're getting starved, and they're accusing Israeli cabinet of intentionally starving the people of Gaza for the intent of the war, and that's on it's not great. It's not a good thing to do. It goes along with it, tell you that war is not the answer to any of the problems. But I would also say that on the lighter note, or the brighter side, we're seeing that a lot of Western allies are saying and are coming to terms with the fact that the two-state solution will be the final thing, and it's something that they've been looking at, and it's a possibility that it will end the crisis. So, two-state solution is one of those things that they're touting, and hopefully, we get a final rest to what's been going on over there.
Well, that's been thrown up quite a number of times, and really we're just waiting to see how it all pans out, and how peace really is restored and the people can go about their daily lives. But talking about this request for arrest warrant, the U.S. president, because earlier he spoke about Western allies, he's spoken out and he's condemned the move. He says it's outrageous. I mean, it's like, U.S. is still sticking by its longtime ally Israel in the midst of the conflict, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's starting to look like that. But so a few weeks ago, the United States did not decide to send some of the ammunition that was intentionally that was headed for Israel, with the fear that the Israeli cabinet were not able to articulate ways to protect civilians in Gaza, and they had to delay the ammunition and the supply of those weaponry to Israel. Be that as it may, it's one of the major suppliers of arms and ammunition to Israel. But as it is, we just have to be very cautious around these things. I would also say that even Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet is also, some of his trusted allies are beginning to raise concerns about plans that are not in place post-war Gaza. Meaning that it doesn't appear that Benjamin Netanyahu has any plans after the war is over. So a lot of cabinet members are coming out to talk about it, or threatening to resign from his cabinet, and that tells you that there's a crack in the walls of the Israeli war cabinet, and people are also seeing that there needs to be, aside from a guarantee for protection of the people of Gaza. Again, let me remind everybody that this is not a war against the people of Gaza or Palestinians. It's the war against Hamas. So they just will have to safeguard the lives of the people, the citizens and the inhabitants of Gaza.
And authorities in Gaza are saying that this request by the ICC prosecutor for the arrest warrant on Benjamin Netanyahu is coming 7 months long. What do you say?
I mean, it takes a process because before the International Criminal Court would issue or file for an application for a warrant, it has to do due diligence, and due diligence would be talking to eyewitnesses, making their own independent, verified, investigation, and also sending their people down there to see what's going on firsthand and gather as much information to present to the judges and to kind of build their case. And they've actually done that successfully, and they feel that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Hamas leaders do have a case to answer. So it took a little bit of time, but it was part of due diligence on the side of the International Criminal Court. Also, another likely issue that we might be having with this is the Israeli cabinet have come out to denounce the assertion or the allegation by the National Criminal Court's prosecutor. And also, they have also said that the ICC does not have a jurisdiction. So they're not a signatory to it, meaning that their laws do not hold on them. So that's another twist to it. But as it is, we'll have to, keep looking, and because it's an unfolding story, we'll keep an eye on it and see how this pans out, because it will change the trajectory of the International Criminal Court if the judges do grant that application for the arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu and the Hamas.
Indeed, because there have been some talks really about the ICC, about whether or not it actually has powers, it has the capacity to actually, try world leaders on matters of this nature. I think we'll just have to leave the conversation there. Kunle Falowo, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you on World Now.
Thank you for having me.